Hi, my name's Alex. I'm doing a 30-day challenge where I'm learning to speak better English, build my camera confidence as well as my mouth connection. Now, today's topic is something that has been on my mind for a while now. It is a term that I learned quite recently. It is called third culture kids. So, by definition, third culture kids refers to someone who grew up in an environment that is different from the culture of their parents or their birthplace. This typically happens to kids whose parents were diplomats or missionaries that requires them to travel around the world a lot. So some backstory about me. I was born right here in Taiwan, and at the age of 12, I moved to Singapore with my parents. And at 17, I traveled to UK by myself to continue my education. And at 24, I moved back to Taiwan again. So in a way that sort of shaped me for who I am today. So let's take English for instance. I spent my significant childhood and a portion of my teenage years in Singapore. So in a lot of my previous video and probably this video, you can hear that Singlish accent coming out. And that goes beyond speaking skills. For me, it is a lot more natural to type, read, or write, or even listen in English. But I cannot speak English very well because most of my friends were Mandarin speakers, but I was constantly living in an English environment. So my Chinese, I can speak it very fluently, just like locals, but I always struggle when it comes to reading or writing. And that sometimes confuses both myself and people around me. Like people would go like, you were in English speaking environment for a long time. All your computers, phones are set up in English, but you cannot speak English well. And yeah, it is confusing, even for me. If you live in the US or the UK, you probably know a lot of third culture kids. One thing that is very different for us TCKs is that if you ask them the questions, where are you from? They sort of struggle to answer them. For me, I get that questions a lot, especially during social occasions. And I don't know what to say to that question. I was born in Taiwan. I hold a Taiwanese passport. I have lived here the longest, but I don't feel like I'm a Taiwanese. No, I'm very disconnected from a lot of the cultures. For example, when my friends are talking about a politician or celebrities, I can never join the conversation because I have no idea who they are talking about. And I watch different YouTube channels than all my friends. Like they watch Mandarin speaking channels, and I barely watch any of them. All the accounts that I follow are English speaking channels. And do I say I am from Singapore? I have only lived there for 5 years of my life, and some of my family members are still there. But I'm also quite disconnected from the local cultures. And do I say I'm from the UK? Not really. I've lived there for 7 years, but I don't have a lot of British friends. So where am I from? Kind of everywhere, I think. So most people would consider home as a physical location of wherever they are living. And for me, and for a lot of third culture kids, I think home is where they feel most comfortable, where they are surrounded by people and friends that they love, and they do not tie the idea of home to a physical location. That kind of inability to tie a physical location to part of your identity, it does have some advantages and challenges. For instance, us third culture kids, we have a very broad knowledge base because we are a combination of all the cultures that we have been exposed to. We see the world quite differently from the people around us. sometimes it is a good thing. For instance, in work environment, I tend to get alone and get to know people from all sort of backgrounds easier than my colleagues who have spent most of their life in Taiwan. I'm more open-minded to different ideas. But at the same time, as I mentioned before, it can be a struggle to just try to fit into the local culture. And we are also very adaptable and flexible. We adjust to new environments. We adjust to change rather quickly because that is just the way we grew up in. And we are very observant because we have met so many different types of people from all walks of life. We are very good at solving our own problems, very independent. But that does come with its own set of challenges because sometimes we can be very guarded and we tend to isolate ourselves a lot. I'm not saying all the TCKs are the same, but these are the common traits that I observed from myself and all the TCK friends that I have. So that identity as a TCK, it can be beneficial and a struggle. And for me personally, I definitely have used it as my advantage in the past, especially in terms of career and getting to know people. But I do still hate to be asked a question, where are you from? I sort of settle into a template answer where I'm just saying, yeah, I'm from Taiwan. And that just keeps the conversation flowing a lot better because if I say I'm from Taiwan, UK, and Singapore, and then I just explain my situation, that typically would end a conversation because not a lot of people can relate to that experience. Oh, and I think one of these things that I realize about a lot of TCKs is that we do not enjoy small talks. I mean, there are still some do, but most of my friends, we don't enjoy small talks. We are better at deep connections, even though we are as good at just cutting connections off. I guess that's just due to us growing up in very different environment. There are a lot that I can still talk about as a third culture kid, but yeah, I think that's it for today's video. So if you watch it until this point, drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow.